Hey everyone, welcome to week 3. This week we will be talking about chapter 3, which is titled Avoiding Fatal Attractions. Last week we talked about beyond the sexual urge, and we will touch on a little bit of those topics today, and it'll kind of recap some stuff, but this week we'll be focusing on avoiding fatal attractions. So I'd like to start off with a question to men and women. For women, how many of you have been attracted to a guy and thought about him for days, weeks, maybe even months? And for guys, how many of you have ever been attracted to a girl and thought about her for days, weeks, months? It happens to us a lot. And if you're saying right now that that's never happened to you, then that's very surprising. But basically, to attract someone means to be regarded by that person as a good. So when you're attracting someone, you're drawing them into like your own goodness, like who you are. To be attracted to someone else means to perceive some value in that person. This can be beauty, virtue, or their personality, and then to respond to that virtue. So, like what we said last week, the reason men and women are so easily attracted to each other is because of the sexual urge. Without it, we wouldn't be attracted to each other. Plain and simple. A person is easily attracted to someone of the opposite sex in two ways, physically and emotionally. You can be initially attracted to someone only physically and then emotions can come later, or you can be initially attracted to someone emotionally and then the physical attraction can come later. But really, you're not only attracted to someone like emotionally or physically. They usually go hand in hand. One can come later than the other, obviously, but you really aren't attracted to someone just physically or just emotionally. There's usually an emotional and physical attraction. The physical attraction is called sensuality, which I'm sure you guys have all heard before, and the emotional attraction is called sentimentality. That's something that we don't think about, but to be emotionally attracted to someone is actually a pretty big deal. So we don't really think about that part a lot, but there's a word for it, sentimentality, and it's actually legitimate in friendships and relationships all across the board. So emotions are obviously like involved when we are attracted to someone, but people don't think of them as playing a super major role in like that attraction. It's like we think of emotions more just once we've gotten to know that person, or once we've had some sort of connection with them. But emotional attraction is actually like a legitimate thing, and it can happen without physical attraction, but yeah. So a lot of people have heard that sensuality can be used in terms that are kind of inappropriate sometimes, and people think of it as a bad thing. But it's not bad, because the sexual urge is meant to draw us toward the body of a person, and it can serve as the foundation for authentic love, just like we talked about last week. So it can be dangerous, though, if it's just alone, if it's like not supplemented by anything else. So when only sensuality is stirred, we experience the body of the other person as a potential object of enjoyment, and we reduce the person to their physical qualities and the pleasure we receive from those qualities. Sensuality can keep us from loving someone if we're only basing our relationship on sensuality, the physical attraction. So, for example, a man may sensuously ponder a woman in his mind or actively seek her body as a means for his sexual gratification. So, even if that person's not present, you can still be attracted to them, obviously you're thinking about their physical attributes, but sensuality comes into play when they're not present, like right in front of you, or, yeah. So a lot of people don't think of that either. And sensuality alone fails to grasp the true beauty of the body. Sensuality on its own is blind to the person themselves. It's just focusing on physical qualities. So John Paul II says that sensual attractions on their own can lead to great dangers. Sensuality on its own misses the person and fails to grasp their true beauty. If we leave this area of our lives unchecked, quote unquote, we will become enslaved to everything that stimulates our sensual desire. So it can really be dangerous when you don't really practice controlling these physical attractions, and your responses to them. And maybe you respond maybe you do have control, and that's great, but some people will not be able to control their minds to think of the body as a beautiful creation, and instead they'll think of it as just a body that they want to use for their pleasure. And we can really become enslaved to this, especially if you if you're a guy and you only see women as these bodies that you could potentially be with or not, or if you're a girl, and same thing goes for you if you see guys as just a means to an end, basically, is kind of what this is getting at. And it's really dangerous when we can become enslaved to those desires, because you kind of lose sight of a person as a person to be friends with. You just lose sight of that person as a work of God's creation, and instead you see it as something to be used for your own gratification. So it can really be dangerous in a lot of ways, obviously. But there's hope. You can learn to control this in your relationships and friendships, and it can be something, relationships, not friendships, but it can be something that you can learn to channel in positive directions and not negative. So, for example, Michelangelo painted naked people, and he did it to show the beauty of God's creation. That is very different than the Playboy magazines, who have pictures of naked women. Michelangelo's paintings of naked humans depict the body as beautiful, and they don't reduce the person to a mere object to be used, but instead his paintings enlarge the human being as this beautiful work of art by God. And his paintings are very religiously oriented, but the way he portrays human beings are not meant for other people to look at lustfully or to be sexually gratified by. That was not his intent, and the way he did his art was for people to realize how beautiful human beings are. So his art leads us to contemplate the mystery of the human person as a masterpiece in God's creation. Playboy, on the other hand, draws attention to the body as an object to be used for one's own sexual satisfaction. It is a reduction of the human person to the sexual value of the body. A lot of people will argue that Playboy is art, because, I guess I don't really know their reasons, but a lot of people will argue that it is art. We've heard that argument several times. A lot of people will defend it online, saying, well, it's not bad because we're just marveling at the beauty of these women. But that argument is completely like, invalid. The point of Playboy is to make money selling pictures of naked women to men who are gratified by those pictures. So any defense saying that what they are selling is art is pointless, because it's not art. If it was art, then they would be approaching their business differently. Think about it. If this was truly art, the pictures would be done differently. They would be sold to not only men, but to maybe they would even be in museums. They would be dispersed to a wide variety of people. There would not be a target audience of men to in certain age ranges or whatnot, or to be sexually gratified. Their business model would be completely different if it was art. So any argument that they have for that is completely invalid, and it is a sexual it's a display of the body as a collection of parts to be used for sexual gratification. So it's very different than Michelangelo's paintings. Very different. A lot of people will condemn the Catholic Church. Well, you guys have naked paintings. Well, yes, we have naked paintings. Let's start with that. Photography is art. I'm not going to disagree, but these are paintings that were done a long, long time ago by Michelangelo, and he did them to portray the body in a beautiful way. He was not painting and in his mind being like, I'm going to paint this guy, or I think the painting is of Adam touching God's finger, that famous painting that we've seen everywhere. He wasn't thinking, I'm going to paint the naked Adam for women to look at him and be sexually gratified by him, while he's like painting God, like reaching out to Adam. Like, that was not his intent. Obviously, this painting was done to show the beautiful humans that God has created. And Playboy does not do that. Playboy is not taking pictures of these women to show the beauty of God's creation. Everyone is beautiful, but that's not Playboy's intent. They're marketing to men to be sexually gratified by these women who are naked. And it's not art. It's not. Our society seems to have this mentality of I can look but can't touch to justify the fact that they aren't doing anything bad. Like I said last week, you can commit adultery just by thinking lustful thoughts about someone. Scary concept, but it's true. John Paul II says that through memory and imagination, we, quote, can make contact even with the body of a person not physically present, experiencing the value of that body to the extent that it constitutes a possible object of enjoyment, end quote. So, one who is looked at lustfully is not treated as a person, but as a body to be exploited for someone else's pleasure. Yeah. Sensuality must be supplemented by other nobler elements of love, such as goodwill, friendship, virtue, commitment, and self-giving love, for it to be something good. So sensuality on its own is not going to make your relationships last, but sensuality supplemented by other acts of love, or nobler elements of love, as it says in the book, is a good thing. So, alone it's bad, supplemented by love, it's good. So, in Bible study this week, we read 1 John chapter 2, verses 16 through 17. And basically, this is just, a summary of this is basically, if we draw strength from God and follow Him, and not the world, we will be able to battle temptations, and in regards to this chapter, sensuality. That's not really what the Bible is targeting in those verses, but it's relatable to this. If we draw our strength from God and not strength, well, quote-unquote strength, from worldly things or people or influences, then we'll be a lot better off. battling these sensuous temptations. Also in Bible study, we read 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 12 through 20. This does specifically talk about sexual immorality. This is like a section in this chapter of the Bible about sexual immorality. It touches on some really good points, though. Our bodies are meant to consume Christ. They're not meant to consume other people's bodies as it refers to like consuming as like having sexual intercourse with other people. It's not meant to consume other beings, except obviously when you're in marriage, when sex is the beautiful act of love that you are giving and receiving to and from your spouse. But this is talking about joining ourselves to Christ and not other people. So when we join ourselves to Christ, we become one spirit with him. And our bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit and are meant to be treated that way. A lot of people just go around thinking that they just don't know the truth of the fact that their bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit, and they're meant to be respected and revered and thought of as beautiful works of art from God, and not anything else, not objects to be used, not anything that will lead to like sinful acts of sexual immorality, basically. And it's really sad that a lot of people don't know that, but your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. If you didn't know that, it is. And it's meant to be respected and truly loved by other people. And it's meant to be saved for that person that you're going to spend the rest of your life with in marriage. So women, your bodies are temples, and don't let men destroy those temples, basically, and take away some part of you. And men, your bodies are temples. So again, don't let your sexual temptations be satisfied by engaging in sexual acts with other women, because your bodies are temples too, and they're meant to be saved for that one woman you're going to spend the rest of your life with in marriage. So that is chapter 3. Thank you all for watching. I hope you learned a lot. And so I will see you all next week when we discuss chapter 4. Thank you so much.